on this side of the room or to your left if you're on that side of the room. And if you could move toward the center and fill in the space, it would be really appreciated. So as people trickle in, they can actually fill in the seats easily and without disturbing those of us who are in the audience. Thank you. We'll get going in just 1 minute. Okay, good morning. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We had coffee, we had sugar in the back, we had some carbs back there. We can do better. Good morning. All right, much better. Thank you. Thank you for coming out and spending the morning with us at UIC at Firestarter. My name is Oscar Rodriguez. I'm Assistant Vice Provost for Academic and Enrollment Services and Director of Recruitment and Outreach. And it pleases me to have you on campus here today. A couple things that you should note before we get started in the program. You'll notice this big giant stage here behind me. Part of what's happening here is, believe it or not, we have church services that are hosted here in the Forum every Sunday. And we had no one scheduled for this space today. And when we outgrew the Student Center East and we decided to move to the Forum to accommodate this big group here today, it meant that this stage was going to be here because they have services here tomorrow. So we did not plan something elaborate. You're not expecting fire dancers or anything on stage. This is just a big stage for the services tomorrow, and we happen to be utilizing the space. So there's that first part. The second part is this, is that we are actually doing a webcast today. So please understand that we've got a camera up at the top of the venue here today that's recording the program, and some of you may in fact be focused there. We've got a pretty thoughtful program for you today. We really thought about what it is that we could provide you, the student, and you, the family, to help you begin your conversations with us through the next 4 or 5 months as you finalize your decisions about where it is that you want to attend for the next 4 years of your student's life, or you as a student, where you want to spend the next 4 years of your life. And we thought that we would start with this type of program. This is not the kind of thing that you're typically going to see elsewhere. We're bringing you an outside speaker. We're having some real conversations in small breakout sessions. And we're going to have some frank conversations with parents when we do a breakout session and give you an opportunity to talk to some college and admissions people afterwards. So we hope that it's a productive program for you today. We hope to have you on campus in the next few months, and we hope that it's the kickoff of many, many conversations that we can have so we can go ahead and place UIC within a proper context for you as you make decisions. Sound good? Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and start. And we'd like to start by welcoming, with a campus welcome from our provost. Susan Poser became the provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs at the University of Illinois at Chicago in February of 2016. She's an honors graduate of Swarthmore College, where she majored in ancient Greek and political science, and she has a law degree and PhD from the University of California, Berkeley. Prior to coming to UIC, Dr. Poser was the dean at the University of Nebraska College of Law, where she was also a faculty member for many years. As a side note, she also recently went through this. She has a senior in college right now, so she absolutely recalls what it's like to be in your shoes just a few years ago. With that, Dr. Poser.
Thank you, Oscar. And I think when he said, I know what it's like to be in your shoes, I think maybe he's talking to the parents more than the students, of course. Yeah, I sure do. So anyway, good morning and welcome to our admitted students and family and friends to UIC's Firestarter event. I was told that we were going to have over 1,000 people here today, and all I can say to that is wow. And as Oscar said, we have outgrown where we usually do this event. So the first thing I want to say to all of you students is congratulations on your admission to UIC. And you should think about it for a moment. You've earned a place not just at college, but at Chicago's Public Research University. And I'll talk about that, what that means in a moment. And that's a really big deal. And I hope that you and your families, even though you may be starting to think about the future and what you're going to do and so on, but I hope that you've taken a little bit of time to savor this and pat yourselves on the back. And I don't just mean the students, I also mean the parents for getting your students here. There is much to be proud of in this fact alone, just the fact of admission, especially in a year like this year when applications are way up. So in fact, it's more competitive than ever to get into UIC. Now, I would venture to say that admission to UIC has opened the door to what will be one of the most thrilling times of your life, and it will set the stage for pretty much whatever you have the drive and ambition to do after you graduate. Now, my title, as you just heard, is provost. No, most people don't know what that is. Sometimes I don't even know. But this title means I'm the person at the university who oversees academic affairs and is ultimately responsible for the academic quality of the university. And so it's my job to help recruit and motivate excellent faculty and to constantly ensure that you, our students, are receiving the best possible education that you can get. So I am keenly interested in you and your success, and I am, again, very happy that you're all here today. So what does it mean to be admitted not just to college, but to what is this country's best public urban research university? What it means is that the highly skilled faculty who are dedicated to teaching you are bringing into the classroom much more than just that day's particular lesson. You are going to be learning from amazing professors who, when they are not teaching you, are engaged in research that is creating new knowledge in everything from improving cancer treatment to creative writing, from marketing to neuroscience, from the latest engineering technologies to criminal justice and city planning. These same teachers who will be teaching you are also out in the field applying that knowledge to help communities and to change the world near and far. And your lives will be transformed by these professors. In fact, your professors are the ones who write the books from which students across this country learn. UIC faculty are changing our city and our world in ways that you may not be aware of. So let me just touch on a couple of examples, what are just only the tip of the iceberg. This is what is going on in when your soon-to-be professors are not in the classroom or laboratory or studio teaching you. So one example, the anti-HIV drug Prezista is used worldwide and was developed by a chemistry professor here named Aaron Ghosh. It's considered across the world as one of the most important medications in a basic health system. Another example, researchers from the UIC Neighborhoods Initiative are working with over 85 community partners to lead community development and anti-violence projects in Chicago neighborhoods like Austin and South Chicago, Pilsen, Humboldt Park, and Chatham. UIC engineering researchers recently developed something that they're calling an artificial leaf that converts carbon dioxide from the air into fuel using only sunlight for energy. Imagine what this could mean for renewable energy and global warming once it gets scaled up. UIC researchers are also teamed with researchers at the world-renowned Argonne National Laboratory just west of Chicago, developing techniques to understand the electrochemical reactions of lithium-ion batteries, to learn how the batteries can be modified to become safer, stronger, longer-lasting, and cheaper. English professor Luis Alberto Urrea was a finalist for the prestigious 2016 PEN/Faulkner Fiction Award for his short stories about U.S.-Mexico border culture. This award is for the best creative writing in the country. He was a finalist. The Dean of the College of Education is deeply involved in the Chicago public school system. He has led a literacy program for fourth graders that has now become the model for all of the Chicago public schools. He is also developing a new major at UIC in juvenile justice. These are just a few examples of the faculty members that you will be learning from. And this is all to say that your future teachers are also doers, and they are here to teach you how to be doers out there in the world. But it's not just our professors. Our students are also encouraged to engage in research, even as undergraduates. Just last August, UIC undergraduates joined ocean scientists in a 200-foot ship for an excursion across the Northwest Passage in the Canadian Arctic, funded by a $3 million grant from the National Science Foundation. That's the kind of activity that our students are engaged in. But research can also be local, and for many students, it includes going into communities, neighborhoods, and schools right here in Chicago, learning in order to give back. And of course, research also goes on right here on campus, working in laboratories and archives and art studios and businesses and so forth. And this is what it means to study at a research university like UIC. So you may find that the best thing about going to this university is that there are many opportunities to participate in research with your professors, contributing to new knowledge and discoveries. But these very same faculty who do this kind of work also care deeply about your growth and about your success. They do all different kinds of research and teach different kinds of classes, but what they have in common is that dedication to you. That is the glue of UIC, and it makes us a unique opportunity for you. And I have never seen a faculty so dedicated to students as UIC faculty are. But UIC professors are not the only ones who are here to support all of you. We have people in student affairs and in every college whose entire job is to promote student success and offer support and to help as you navigate your college career, so that from the very beginning you are provided advice and resources and the help that you need. And UIC is very big. It has over 18,000 undergraduate students. Yet it is very easy and it is very important to make UIC much smaller, more manageable, and more familiar. And one way to do this is by participating in extracurricular activities and finding groups of friends who share your interests. And we have about 300 student organizations that represent just about every interest that you could imagine, from the Women's Leadership Resource Center to the Latino Culture Center, from intramural sports to student government, and everything in between. Every college has a host of other opportunities, from writing for a literary magazine to going back into the public schools to work with younger kids and serve as role models, which you are now. And you can go even farther away from campus to learn and grow in one of our study abroad programs that covers 6 continents, or by doing an internship in downtown Chicago. The possibilities are only limited by your imagination and by your ambition. And as you may know, and as you can see if you just look around today, we have one of the most diverse student bodies in the country, with no ethnic majority. Last year's freshman class spoke over 60 languages. And that means that you are going to have the chance to work with people who are different than you are, who have different backgrounds and different ideas, and who see the world from a different perspective. You will meet people from all around the country and from all around the world. And this will enrich your personal experiences in ways that you probably can't imagine right now. One of the defining elements of a UIC education is the cultural experience that you receive just by being on our campus. And in this day and age, that is a critical education in itself and will prepare you for our ever-increasingly diverse workforce. We also understand that a college education must have as one of its goals a pathway to success in the workplace, whether that means a job immediately after college or further study in graduate school or professional school. And with that in mind, I looked at the recently released data by what's called the Social Mobility Index, and that uses student data from across the country before college and after to determine the value of a higher education in raising the nation's standard of living and raising the standard of living of individual college students. And out of over 1,350 universities, UIC was number 46. In other words, UIC is one of the best universities in the country for raising our students' standard of living, simply by getting an education and the support that they need. Raising their standard of living, of course, by providing these opportunities, goes right back into the community and has effects that reverberate out in many ways. And this is something that we are extremely proud of here. What we do at UIC makes a difference in our students' lives after they graduate. And of course, your success is our success. And helping our students enter the workforce is a priority, and we do it in many different ways. For example, UIC's College of Engineering promises every student a paid internship after the freshman year. UIC's College of Business has doubled the number of companies at its career fairs, leading to a post-graduation employment rate of 84% right after college. So I will close my remarks simply by saying that here at UIC, we value the potential in every single student. Our commitment is to ensure that you receive what you need to meet your goals and make all of your dreams come true. So I encourage you to avail yourselves of the countless opportunities that are offered here at UIC and to try to learn about as many of them as possible today. You'll be greeted by enthusiasm and support for your dreams. So again, let me congratulate you on being admitted to UIC. I'm looking forward to all of you becoming a part of the UIC community and the class of 2022. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Poser. One of the things that you should have gotten from her welcome and her remarks is the fact that the University of Illinois at Chicago has a number of people who are here that are dedicated toward helping students actually leverage, achieve, and actually go out and do in the world, right? So it's not just about being on campus. It's not just about being in labs. It's not just about leveraging the city. It's about what do you do after you graduate. And we'll talk about some of those things in some of the breakout sessions. We'll certainly talk about it during the panel for parents. But next, what we're actually going to do is we're going to talk to Harlan Cohen, who is a New York Times best-selling author. He's a nationally syndicated advice columnist who has visited over 400 different high schools. He's the author of 6 books, including The Naked Roommate and 107 other issues you might run into college, and The Naked Roommate for parents. And if you were an early arriver here, you should have received a copy of that book. He's a leading college expert who has sold over 500,000 books, has appeared on CNN, The Today Show, and in publications including the Chicago Tribune, the New York Times, and USA Today. He's here from our hometown, actually. He's a Chicago native, and I'd like to welcome Harlan Cohen. Oh, there you are.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It is wonderful to be here. What an exciting day. What a strange day, I imagine, for many of you, right? You're here, and you are potentially at the place where you're going to create your college story. Days like this, I never liked. This is uncomfortable, and it's weird, I think, for a lot of you. I don't know if, I always try to gauge, who's here and what are they experiencing so that I can really work to connect. And when I go to this day, for some of you, it's really exciting. You're really confident. This is great. We were making eye contact, and you seem like you're super excited. You got a great way about you. It's awesome. And then I look around and I see other people who kind kind of just want to hide under their chair, and that's okay. You could hide under your chair. You can be whoever you want to be today and feel whatever you want to feel today, because this is a day where it's all about you. You know, it's just about you being you. This is about you. And this is about you figuring out what you want, which is so exciting because you determine what you want, even though there's people next to you who have a lot of influence. It's really about you. And that's one of the reasons I'm so grateful to be here. This is my 4th year being here because at UIC, they say, Harlan, you know, we want you to welcome students, and we want to make sure that the students who come here, they come here because this is a place they want to come to. This is a place where they're going to find their people. And this is a place where they're going to find their places. And this is a community where they're going to be patient when they get uncomfortable, because if you're doing it right, it's going to be uncomfortable at times, okay? That's the truth. And I have total freedom to do that, which is great. And I love Chicago. I've lived in Chicago most of my life. I recently moved. I'm going to share a little bit about that with you. But I'm here to help you to really think, what is it that you want? You know, what is it that you're going to experience? And how can this place be the community where you can get everything you want? Isn't that great? Like, I just want you to be happy. That's what I do. I travel around the country and I help students to be happy, and parents too. And one of the things that I love to do more than anything is get to know people. I'm on my tippy toes because I'm not that tall of a man, and the stage was so wonderful. I want to get to know some of you, and I want to understand your stories and why you're here and what you're looking for. So one of the things I'm going to do is talk to a few of you, okay? If you're comfortable with me talking to you, I know it's intimidating, like this is crazy, but I would love to talk to you. And if you don't want to talk to me, I'm totally okay with that because I'm very used to rejection. I am. I'm a rejection specialist. I've been rejected most of my life, especially women. They seem to reject me the most. So I'm okay with that. So if you don't want to talk to me, you know, you can just look away and I'll pick up on that very quickly. But if you do want to talk with me, that's great. And I'll ask you some questions. And if you want to answer those questions, great. And if you don't, you could say pass. I don't want to answer those questions. Because all I want to do is get to know you and make sure that you're comfortable. So please, you know, if we can honor that type of relationship, that would be wonderful. So let me just look around and see, like, you don't want to talk to me. I can tell. Right. I looked at her and she looked away. I've seen that before. So you seem like you might be willing to talk. Are you okay talking to me? You are? Oh, wonderful. Will you stand up? Oh, and you have a book, so I can sign your book later. Here, I'll sign it later. But this is wonderful. What is your name?
Kiana.
Hi, Kiana. It's nice to meet you.
Too.
Oh, you're so friendly. You're going to shake my hand. Here, hand's a little sweaty because I get nervous when I talk. Where are you from?
I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
All right, Milwaukee in the house. It's got some Wisconsin, a Packers jersey. How'd you get in? What are you trying to do today, man? We'll have to talk maybe. We'll see. So you're from Milwaukee. That's wonderful. And why is it that UIC is on your radar? What excites you about this place?
I thought that the culture looked really nice. It looked like it was, that's the word I'm looking for. It just felt like it was very like welcoming, and it also seemed like it was just good academic base. So, and it was a different environment from Milwaukee. So.
Yeah, it sounds like great things. Have you met interesting people here? Do you know anyone who goes to school here?
Actually, no. Everyone I know kind of went to like the South for some reason. I don't know, but
like South Milwaukee?
No.
Like the South.
Like the South, like Texas. you know.
And so you don't know anyone here. This is great. So there's people. There's a few people there that see they have the UIC. They're really friendly. You'll meet people during your sessions. Everyone who has one of these buttons that says "I'm one of your people." So Kiana, these people want to talk to you. If you don't talk to them, they get sad. It's strange. Like they really want your questions. So while you don't know anyone today, at this second, you're going to know so many people, which is great. And they actually, like you people, well, I may talk to you three. I got to know them a little bit. If Kiana has a question next week and she sends you a note, are you going to delete it or what are you going to do? You'll text back? You'll text back or social or do it on Instagram or whatever, right? So like when you're here, all of you, and you especially, don't be afraid of getting these people's information because as you have questions, there's going to be the people in your corner, okay? So another question, what do you think your major would be?
I'm looking for like something related to physical therapy.
So you like to be active?
Yeah.
So what do you do in high school that you enjoy, that you get the most pleasure out of now? What are some of your activities?
Well, class-wise or just anything?
Anything, the things you like the most. Forget class, forget academics. It could be academics, but what do you enjoy? Like what do you get the most pleasure out of?
Art. I really like painting. I like making portraits for people, things like that. I like to do a little bit of everything.
Yes, you're artistic. Are you athletic?
No.
No, okay, but you like the physical therapy piece.
I do. I want other people. I mean, I'm working on it, but
You like to help.
yeah.
You're a helper. You're a giver. Okay, that's great. And then let me ask you a personal question. Do you know this man with the camera behind you?
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Do you have a relationship with him?
Yeah.
And who is this man?
My father.
Your father, right. And you guys have a good relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah? And what are you most excited about when it comes to the next year and Kiana doing the whole college thing?
She'll be out of the house.
Kiana, how does that make you feel to have your father share that?
I don't know. Just kidding.
You've got about a 90-minute car ride home to discuss it, which would be great. Are there siblings in your family?
Actually, I'm an only child.
Oh, so there's so much love here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that will be a little hard, right?
It is very hard.
Yeah, are you gonna, if Kiana ends up at UIC, are you gonna come here every day?
I'm actually in the military, so I'll probably be moving out of the state.
Oh, wow. So have you always been in the military?
30 years.
30 years. So, of course, thank you for your service. And that is wonderful. So throughout that time, Kiana, has there been different tours where your dad has been gone?
Yeah, he's been to St. Louis, but it's not too bad.
It's not like overseas?
No.
So you haven't had to endure that?
No.
Because I was thinking of like the transition piece, but as soon as she leaves, you're gonna get out of here. You're right, and you're gonna go to the South. Because everybody from Milwaukee goes to the South, probably because of the weather. So Kiana, this is my last question for you, okay? It's wonderful to talk to you. Thanks for being so generous. And this is a personal question, okay? Because I know and this isn't usually, you're not gonna get this in any other campus as well, okay? In terms of like prom is like 5 months away, okay? Do you have someone in mind for prom?
Oh.
I know this is where your dad. It's like it gets weird, but you don't have to answer. This is one of those questions that's none of my business.
Probably going with my friends, have a powwow.
Okay, so that's good. So there's always the opportunity of meeting someone as well, an interesting person during your Firestarter.
Yeah.
That is not what Firestarter is about at all. No, but really what it's about, and let me just ask you this, your friends, your closest friend, who's your closest friend, or the two closest friends?
Sydney and Tiffany.
Sydney and Tiffany, we love them. And Sydney and Tiffany, how did you meet Sydney and Tiffany?
Sydney, I met her in high school, and Tiffany I've known like basically all my life.
And Sydney in high school, where did you meet?
At Rufus King High School.
And was it in a class? Was it a project?
We had like all the same classes, and then we just started talking, and then before you know it, we were best friends.
What class was it where you really hit it off?
Surprisingly, gym. So.
Jim, right? Well, Jim's active, and then Sydney and you and Sydney are now like best friends.
Yeah.
And Sydney and
Tiffany.
And where are they going to school? Do they know?
Sydney, she's thinking about going to DePaul, and Tiffany, she's not sure yet.
Oh, that would be great if you went here and Sydney went to DePaul.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Kiana, a round of applause for Kiana. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And the reason I asked the friend question, and also, like, I hope the prom question wasn't weird. It's kind of out of left field. But so much of what I believe your experience is, it's not just the academic, which is so important, and this place, you know, has incredible academics, but it's really, how are you going to build those relationships? What is your experience going to be like? How do you make friends? You know, like, that's a big thing. Daniel, right? You're Daniel. I read your name tag, okay? What do you do, Daniel, with your friends? Like, how did you make your closest friends, Daniel? Sports. So gym, it's not that far off, Kiana. So are you athletic? Are you going to do athletics in college? You don't think so? Why not, Daniel? You don't know. What's your best sport, Daniel? Football, okay? What's your second best sport? Soccer. But these things, so like, this is the part, like, you got to do sports. Do you like sports? Yes. So, like, as part of what you're doing, the sports is so important. I actually was able to park right by the, the facility there. My daughter played softball, and we were fortunate enough that she would play games in the UIC stadium. And we'd walk through the facility, and it was so cool because when we would walk through, some of the doors would be open a little bit, and we'd kind of peek our heads in and see what was going on, even though we shouldn't have done that. But it was really cool to see. And there's, like, swimming, and there was gymnastics, and it's just so cool what happens here. And the things that go beyond the classroom are the things that are really important to you and to what this experience is. So, like, with the sport part, I think it's really important that you do something where you can sweat with people. You know, like, when you sweat with people, you make friends. We've proven that in 2 situations here. So when you're looking at your college experience, it's not just that degree part. There's so many components to it, and I'll give you a framework that I'll reinforce again and again. It's always, what do you want? And it's really having the courage to express what you want in all parts of your life. Whatever you want, I believe you should get. Okay? You deserve whatever you want. And so many people are so afraid to share what they want. It's, what do you want? What scares you about it? Okay? Then it's always people, places, and patience. It's, who are the people who could be in your corner to help support you and guide you? And you know, there are so many people who have helped you to get here, who will continue to help you. Then it's always, where are the places you can do the things you love to do, where you can align yourself with people who share your passions? And do that over time. You're in an amazing city with a diverse campus. There's no campus that's more diverse. And you're in an urban environment where there's so many people you could align yourself, living so many different passions, that it's so many opportunities are available to you if you focus on what you want. And then the third piece is patience. Life's uncomfortable. It's hard. This is weird because it's new. And I'm so grateful. Kiana, thank you for being comfortable to share. And thank you for not sharing. I really mean that. I mean that so much because, you know what? There's different types of people who are in different places, and some people are more comfortable than others. And it doesn't make it better or worse. That's just how it is, because the patience piece is so important. So me being here and getting to know so many of the professionals at UIC, what I've seen is it's people, places, and patience. You know, it's a community with lots of people who really dig that whole idea, the people, places, patience. And you've got your places, and you can get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Today, you're going to meet lots of people. When you meet these people, recognize that they are here for you. They want to know what you want, and they want to help you to connect with the resources so that when you spend the rest of your time figuring out what you want, you can have a clear vision of what this experience will be for you. So I want to give you an opportunity to communicate with me. There's so much to share. That's the biggest challenge is being able to share and help you in every way you want. 321-345-9070. That's my cell phone number. You can text me. I'm going to save about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more, to answer questions. If I can't answer them all here today, I'll create a video for you. I'll also hang out till you're done with the day. And if you see me, approach me. I know I'm like big energy because it's a big space, but I can really chill and have a meaningful conversation with you. So I can do that too. So I want to be here, and you could ask me questions. If I've said or done anything that you're like, ugh, let me know so I can clear it up so you can focus on you the rest of your time here. So I want to give you a little more background about me real quickly. And I'm going to go fast through this because I care not a lot about me and more about you. This is much more context. So I travel around the country. I visited students all over the world. This was from last year, which was wonderful. Some of the student volunteers. This guy was really interesting. He sells advertising space on his head, which is a great idea to help pay for college. Then there are these wonderful organizations and activities that I see on campuses all over the country. I get to visit with students, and I get a sense of what they're thinking and what they want and where they're facing their greatest challenges. I also write these books, and the reason I write these books is because what I've recognized, and if you're not familiar with The Naked Roommate, I can give you a 2-second overview. So many people deal with so many uncomfortable situations. I wanted to make sure that you knew that anything you experience is something that someone has been through before. So I interviewed thousands of students. They share tips and stories, and the message is, okay, it's going to be awesome, but it's also going to be uncomfortable. When the uncomfortable pops up, don't freak out. Just be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And I can get through it. And I wrote a book for parents as well. I am not only an author and speaker and columnist, I am a father. This is my actual family. These are real people, not actors, okay? So it's been a crazy year of transition for me. We started last year in the city, in the Lakeview neighborhood. This is Eva. Eva is 11, and we just finished our college tours. It's been really wonderful. I'm just joking. This is Harrison. He's not as interested in college. He enjoys his Xbox a lot. I'm trying to really motivate him. It's a real challenge. This is Asher. He had a rough day, but then he quickly recovered over here. And Asher just finished a PPSAT training program, and he was the first one in underwear, so we're really excited about his future prospects for scholarships. So there's that. We moved in October, and moving was really dramatic. And whether you're going to live at home or whether you're going to live on campus, and by the way, they're going to be breaking ground on a new residence hall, which sounds super exciting. Wherever you are, life's a transition. And when we were in the city and we moved, the first thing we thought was, how do we get to that next place? How do I help my daughter and son to find friends? How do we help them to meet new people? Do you know the number one concern that students face and share with me? It's not about the major, and I know finances are really important as well. It's always, what happens the first week, and how do I make friends? How do I make friends? I don't know if you thought about that. Like, is that a concern to you? Yeah, you're one of them. And you seem really friendly. You seem super friendly. But here's the thing. The way to make friends is you share experiences over time, okay? Shared experiences over time equal friendship. Who's my friend in the Packers jersey? Who are you? What's your name? Peter. So Peter, I love that you're in your Packers jersey. What's going to happen is you're going to not make a lot of Chicago friends, okay, your first week. That's okay. But you know what? What is it, Patrick? Is that right? What's your name again? Peter, right. I got a Patrick on my mind because there's another. But Peter, the thing is, you're going to meet a lot of people from Wisconsin who are going to see you and be like, hey, man, You know, I'm from Wisconsin. This is great because you're clearly making a statement, but you're going to meet people. You're going to make friends. All of you will make friends. One of the tricks that I like to share when helping students to decide what's going to happen next is to go in a time machine and imagine it's May 1st, 2019. You're surrounded by 5 new people who you've never met before. How did you meet these people? Where are the places you met these people? How long did it take you to meet these people? And don't make them only people you meet in your classes. Have them be people you've met doing things you love to do. How many of you are first generation students and parents, first ones in your family going to college, if you're comfortable identifying as first generation? So many of you, there's so many more, I know. And the most important thing I can mention, not just to you, but to everyone, is when you do something outside the classroom, you are much more likely to graduate. And a lot of parents don't recognize this, which is why I want to just give you this. No matter where you end up, if your child isn't doing something outside of their academics, they're less likely to be successful. At UIC, there are so many opportunities. So when you're thinking of friendship, think of where are the places I could do the things I love to do outside the classroom. And Daniel, this is where I was saying, if you like athletics, that can be something you do. It could be intramurals, it could be club sports, maybe it's being part of a Greek organization and they have competitive sports as part of that. Maybe it's being part of a residence hall organization where they have sporting events. So while you're going through this time here, ask people like, hey, are you athletic? How do you get to play? What are some things you can do? Then you could actually talk to those people. Then the crazy thing is, you stay in touch with those people. Then by the time you get here, you already have people. And you know what you're going to do the first week because you've already thought it's May 1st, 2019. How did I meet the people? And if one of them is playing soccer, that's great. And Kiana, your father, may I ask your name, sir? Dennis, I imagine that you have friends you've met through your military service, correct? And a lot of them are close friends? Yeah, and I would imagine after 30 years, these are some of the people in your corner because you've had these shared experiences with them, especially when it goes through basic training. And is there anyone you met in that first couple years that's still someone who you're close with? Yeah, and how did you meet that person? You used to laugh when you get in trouble by the drill sergeant. I get what that was. And you survived, right? But you had a target on you, right? 'Cause me too. Yeah, authority sometimes makes me laugh, which authority doesn't like. So shared experiences over time. And the reason I started with that picture of my family is because when you're in new places, surrounded by new people, you're going to share these experiences. So while you're here at UIC and engaging in your college search, always thinking people, places, and patience. Because the truth is, high school doesn't prepare you for what's next, okay? High school helps you to qualify so that a school can evaluate you and decide if you're a good fit. But when it comes to really being successful, they don't do that. You have to be the ones to do that. And I know this because not only am I someone who's worked with so many students from this community, I'm also a product of this community. We focus so much on search and selection. The emphasis is on, do you want me? I want to be good enough so that you will want me. And I want to wipe that away. If I can possibly wipe that away, it's, you're good enough. You're exceptional, you're here, all right? So just stop. Just stop, you're good enough. Now it's about, what do you want? Because anything you want, you are capable of getting. I'm delusional enough to believe. And that's where you focus your efforts. Because when it's less about being wanted and more about what you want, you're much more driven by the things that are going to make a difference in your life and help you to find connection and community. You're admitted. School wants you. It's great. Congratulations. This is awesome. Great. Now, how do you really determine what you want and what are the steps that you can take? Now, a lot of times we think that, poof, magic, this experience just unfolds. Well, the truth is there's things that you need to do. And the first thing you need to do, and it's a question that a lot of parents ask their kids, and I love that you have a drive back to Milwaukee later. It's great. And some of you, how many of you are from out of state by a show of hands? From a different state? It's great. You'll have, and some of you have, hopefully you'll be here long enough where there'll be some traffic so that when you get home you can sit and talk. But this idea of what do you want, and for parents, it's often confusing because sometimes your kids want to check in with you to see if what they want is okay. You know, I have to have permission to want what I want. But whatever you want, that's really where you need to start. And here's the reality, is most of you who start with what you want, a lot of you will change what you want. You know, the majority of students change their major. But by being at a campus in a community where you have that ability to shift with what you want also gives you the power to be able to stay in one place. But what do you want? And it's not just what do you want in terms of academics, what do you want in terms of friendships? What do you want in terms of your social life? What do you want in terms of the type of people you're gonna meet? Because when I was talking about prom and talking about those types of interactions, the truth is, the places you surround yourself, the places you put yourself and the people you surround yourself with, those are the type of people you're gonna meet and share those experiences with, which is something to really weigh and consider. So what do you want? Now, a lot of parents, oh, you're so great, you're the best, you're here, wow, amazing. But when you're here, a lot of times people will call you names, helicopter parents, maybe lawnmower parents, up in the Midwest, snowplow parents. And I know that you're the most loving parents in the world. This could be uncomfortable at times. Instead of calling you names, I call you the most loving, caring, unbelievably kind parents who are so connected to your kids. The challenge is that you know more, you hear more, you're more involved than ever before. So if you have an understanding of what's ahead, if you have an understanding of how to be a great partner to guide your student through the rest of this experience, it's going to be a much better, much more healthy experience. So what I share with you is going to help you to do that as well. I have 3 rules. And many of these rules I've already talked about, so I'll just kind of glance over them. But this is the framework that you can use during this visit and during additional visits as you continue to figure out, what do I want? Let me tell you one more thing. Some of you are like, what do I want? I don't know what you want, okay? But you know what you want for dinner, right? Like start with dinner, okay? And then start with what do you want to watch this weekend? Start with the movie, okay? And then think, how am I going to meet people? What do I want to experience? And the thing is, there's no wrong answer. And what you want can always change. But the most important thing is to start thinking about what you want. Kiana, if you love art, right? Fills you up, makes you feel good. You like that? So as part of your art, if that's something that you love, you can also incorporate maybe your art into like art therapy or something that incorporates art and gives you something where you can also do that. So the idea of like, what do you want? It doesn't have to be shut off. It could just be a hobby. But what do you want? And really incorporating that into your experience here to connect with people. I'll give you one more thing about the art part. And you were so interesting. I really enjoyed talking to you. I know when it comes to different organizations, they're looking for graphic artists. They're looking for people to put marketing materials together. So it also becomes, if that's something you like to do, in addition to your experiences here in the classroom, what are some of the clubs and organizations that are really active on campus? Looking around at the kiosks and seeing how events are advertised and the different groups and organizations that are advertising them and approaching it not from a point of view of what they're doing, but how you can help them to do it better using your art as that thing. Like there's so many fun ways to look at it. So number 1 is get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Life is uncomfortable. I experienced this when I was in college. I started off at UW-Madison. This is what it looks like in August. This is what it looks like every other day. This is what it was. This is August. This is every other day. My college experience was really, really hard. I went to a school that I thought was going to be amazing. My parents went to big schools. My brothers went to a big school. I thought I'd go to a big school. I got there. My roommate wasn't my friend. I didn't connect with him. I needed him to be my friend. Oh my gosh, because I didn't have any friends. And he liked marijuana more than me. And that was hard because I didn't do that because it wasn't in alignment with who I was, and he moved out, and I didn't have a plan of how I was going to find my people and places. I tried to rush a fraternity. I didn't get in. That was really upsetting. I didn't know how to make friends. And I'm kind of a weird, well, I'm a loving man who takes a while to get to know. I'm a slow burn kind of guy. And I didn't have a plan of how I could put myself in places to build relationships so that I can create a life on campus. The only thing I had going for me was my prom date. Alexis. Alexis is her name. It's still her name. She was everything to me. Homecoming, not queen, she was runner-up. She was almost good enough. But she was amazing. That's silly. She was incredible, and I say that only because it was a miracle that I had a girlfriend. And she was so popular and could have been with anyone, but she chose to be with me. And my first year was difficult. I was a freshman. She was a senior in high school. I leaned on her. I leaned and leaned. Till eventually Alexis couldn't sustain the weight of my first year. Alexis had a conversation with her father. Her father compared our relationship to a dying puppy. Urging Alexis to shoot the puppy, she shot the puppy, ended the relationship. I was devastated because the best things in my life were all accidents. It wasn't about intention. And I was at this place where I was so horribly uncomfortable. And I transferred. I transferred to Indiana University. Took me about a year. I finally found my way. Now, for you, you can expect the tough stuff. At times, it gets dark here in the winter. It snows. The winters have been much better lately, though. I mean, they really have. It's been like tropical almost, which is frightening. Maybe we'll have another one of those the next year, the year after when you're here. But here's the thing. Expect this. Like, have a picture of what you imagine things being, because when you have your expectations but also know what's coming, it's going to be much easier for you to navigate this experience. I found my places at Indiana University. I was a legacy. So the fraternity had to accept me. My brothers went there. They had no choice, which I was okay with. I started an improv group. I was part of the Indiana Daily Student. I found my places. I found my people. And I learned to be patient. And the thing that helped me to handle being patient was understanding that college is a big transition. There are 5 big transitions: social, how you make friends, build relationships; emotional, everything going on between your ears. There's the physical relationship, the physical transition, how you actually can physically be in a new place surrounded by new people, even if you're living here on campus. If you're commuting, the physical transition, also your health and well-being. Then you've got the financial transition, which is a big transition. The advice I have for you is when you're meeting students here, if finances is a big issue for you, talk to the students who have "I'm one of your people" buttons and ask them if finances was a challenge for them. And if they say yes, then pick their brain and find out exactly how they were able to get here and stay here, because you can connect with seniors and people who have been here and done it, who have the scholarships that you're going to get next year and the year after. Do not be afraid to give what you want voice, and do not be afraid to give the things that make you uncomfortable voice, because those who have been there and done it will help you and support you. There's one more transition. Oh yeah. The academic transition. Isn't that crazy that I go through all that? And academics, like, that's usually the backbone. But what I've found is when you're thinking about what's next, it's SEPFA. Okay, I'll say it again. SEPFA. It's the world's worst acronym. This is all of this combined. And to me, that's the thing that you should look at when you're working through this experience. When you're meeting people, it's what are the 2 most important? What are the 3 most important parts for you? And for parents, recognizing that what's important to your kids may not be the same thing that's important to you. And why is it important that we recognize these 5 areas of transition? Well, because life is 90% amazing and 10% difficult. Whoops. It's 90% amazing. Let me get back to that. Too fancy. So life's 90% amazing and 10% difficult, or a bunch of BS. And when we don't see the uncomfortable coming, it becomes all consuming. And when we don't acknowledge what is important to us and what makes us uncomfortable, that's when it becomes too big. So never let the 10% consume 100% of your time. Really acknowledge uncomfortable and use your resources here to help you to work through that. There are 2 types of people: those who fight the uncomfortable, always hating, hiding, and attacking. And then there are those people who can embrace the uncomfortable. Even when I started this, it's like, wherever you are, that's where you are. However this feels, that's the way it's supposed to feel. And wherever you want to go and whatever you want to feel, you'll get there. But the way you get there is by giving yourself permission to want it and thinking people, places, and patience. If you don't know about the uncomfortable, it can really throw you. I compare it to driving in the snow. You know, driving in the snow, driving in the snow. If you don't practice driving in the snow, it is a white knuckler. It is frightening. And when I look at life, I see 5 lanes. Most of our time is spent in the academic lane, 90% of our time. But there's a social, emotional, physical, and financial lane. And unless we're prepared and anticipate the challenges we're going to face, once we get to this next place and all the lanes are open, this is when we start to swerve. This is when we start to lose control. And this is where it starts to collide with the academics and those areas where we're our strongest. I'll give you a couple stats. 66.6% of freshmen felt homesick during their first year in college. 2/3 of students felt homesick, okay? So especially those living at home, they're like, oh, I'm so sick of home. Get me out of here. But then there are those who live here, and homesickness can be cured if you acknowledge what makes you uncomfortable. This one is staggering to me. When we look at mental health, 46.4% of students felt hopeless over the past 12 months. And then you look at students who are overwhelmed, 86%. Students who feel lonely. Students who feel exhausted, 82%. This is the time of our lives, but yet so many students are uncomfortable. And I don't say this to try and scare you. What I do is tell you this because if you know what so many people are dealing with, you don't have to deal with it. If you can anticipate what makes you comfortable in December of the year before you go to school, and you can identify people and places during your selection process, then if you encounter this stuff, it's going to be a small part of a bigger experience. So my suggestion is to practice uncomfortable. Practice uncomfortable and see how it feels. And for parents as well, give your kids permission to be uncomfortable. Let them sit in it for a while. You know, the reason that I was able to learn so much about myself is my first year in college was so miserable. And my parents, we didn't have cell phones. And I had to use a calling card. And if I wanted to cry, I had to be connected to a wall. So it was like, because I couldn't find space. You're so connected now, this idea of like just giving your kids permission just to be uncomfortable. I'm working on it now. So practice uncomfortable and know that everything will be okay. I'm going to fly through the rest of this, and I've already hit on so many of these issues, is don't panic. When you get that feeling, that rush of uncertainty, don't panic. Think people, places, and patience. Now, what do I mean? It's always, who are your 5 people? Where are your 3 places? And how long will it take? It doesn't take 2 weeks or 2 months. It could take a year. So when you're walking on campus, be like, oh, you know what? If I'm uncomfortable, which I'm going to be anywhere, because that's part of transition, I might as well have a nice view. You know, I could walk to the lake. I could go to a museum. I could do something where I can feed a different part of me. I can't tell that to people who are living in the middle of a lot of, fields. But you have that. That's one of the strengths of being in such an urban community. Why 3 places? You always have somewhere to go. You always have something to do. You always have options. Places are key. If you look at your success in high school, those successes are all correlated to people, places, and patience. Places, how do you find your places? Think, where can I sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work? Sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work. Sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work. So when you're looking at college, think, I'm going to go to a place where I can sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work. And these are the places I'm going to sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work. And I'm going to meet people while sweating, playing, praying, living, learning, leading, and working. There's so many opportunities here. Then you find your people. You got people all around. You've met some of these people. They're nice people. They're good people. They're really, I like admissions people because they want you. They're nice and they're helpful. They're really cool. Then you've got people who are volunteering, people you can ask for help, and people who are paid to help. These are the 3 types of people that you have in your corner. A few of your people, okay? We've got Jaleesa. Jaleesa, raise your hand. This is a real person at UIC who's here, who's in your corner. Julia is involved with Greek life. She works at the visitor center. She likes to hang out at the library. These are some of her people she's worked with, advisors, other people she's worked with. And being open as a freshman, probably being just more forgiving and being present and just recognizing what you want is so key. We got Patrick as well. Is Patrick here? That's Patrick in real life as well. More people over there. And Patrick, are you open to talking to people who have questions? You like that, right? You love it. Yeah, it's exciting. Biology, the AAAN, right? That's the African American Academic Network. Is that right? You love that place, right? That's been really important to you, it seems like. Yeah, and you could explain what that means if anybody has questions about AAAN. And then you've got your people, your advisor, research coordinator, your sister. That's really nice. Your sister's one of your people. I like that. And then more supervisors. The financial piece seems real important to you. Have you learned a lot financially? You're still learning. Right, but he's someone you can talk to about finances too. And then we have Mai as well. Is this Mai? Yeah, there you are. And Mai, you like to dance. It seems like you like dance. You're active, right? So Kiana, if you want to like move and stuff, she could help you to move around a little bit. And you've got your people as well. I'm going to make these slides available to you so that you can connect with your people. Are you running any sessions, the three of you? No? You're just going to be floating around? Okay, and if anyone comes up to you, what's the best way for someone to ask you a question? Just to ask you, are you going to judge them? No, you're not. You're going to like them. You're automatically going to like them. You've got 3 people who are going to like you no matter what. And there's so many more people. The UIC core who's going to be running these sessions, they're here for you as well. I want to fly through the rest because my time is coming to a close. Patience. It takes a good couple years to really find your way, but if you are thinking forward in terms of what is it you want, using what I shared with you to guide you, it's going to be much easier for you to get where you want to go. It's easier to create a life on campus when you have places, people, and patience. And you can start doing this now. You start doing it today so that you could tell your story. What is your story? Tell it as if it's already happened. Don't let people tell you what your story is going to be. You're the one who determines your story. And the way to determine your story is to tell yourself, it's the end of my first year in college. I'm surrounded by 5 new friends. I met these people in different places during my first year. How did you meet them? Where did you meet them? How long did it take for you to meet them? Because they're here, they're around, and talk to each other as well in these sessions, because some of these people, you might end up knowing them like the first day of boot camp. You might meet people who are in your corner for the rest of your life. Welcome here. Enjoy this journey. I have questions that you have asked me, and I have gotten so excited that I have used my time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record a video, and I'm going to answer your questions. And I'll make sure that you have access to all of these slides and all this information. And I'm going to hang out here so I can be here with you. And I will stay here as long as you have questions. And when you come up to me, I'm going to be so excited to talk to you. If you have a book and you want that to be the thing that starts our conversation, I can sign it for you so we can make it easy. And if you don't have a book, you could tell me that you're sad you don't have one. And I can talk to you about that as well. Keep my information. I am so grateful to be here. You can tell I'm so passionate about being this person who delivers this information. And I want you to know that your experience is there. What you want is here. And I want to be in your corner, and we all want to be in your corner to help you to get there. Thank you all so much. So grateful to be here. Have an amazing rest of your morning. Thank you.
All right, one more round of applause. Thank you, Harlan Cohen. So again, if you think back to what you've actually heard today, the provost's welcome, when she's talking about people and places, when you're hearing from people in the next sessions, if you hear the kinds of things that I'm talking about, we keep going back to people, places, and a little bit of patience as we get through this whole process, right? It really is critical as you move through this next stage of your life. And with that in mind, we think that it's really important to have some of those open conversations with some people, talking about perhaps some places, and how you go through this with a bit of patience to actually have a transformative experience when you get to a college like UIC. So with that being said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to break out into sessions. When you registered for the event, you selected which sessions you wanted to attend. So we're going to break out parents, guardians, people who are here as guests of the students. You should remain here. And we're going to send off the students for the next hours. They're going to do concurrent sessions, 2 concurrent sessions, and then we promise you that we will bring them back to you here in this space. Okay? And then we'll wrap up and conclude from there. Sound good? Okay, so with that, we've got a session called Real Talk that's going to be in room D&E. Kiana, Matt, and Sam are leaving from door B. So there's Kiana, Matt, and Sam. So if you registered for Real Talk during the 10 a.m. session, you should feel free to get on up, and you should follow them, and they'll get you to the space in this building. Hey, Rob, That's a lot of people interested in hearing some real talk about what it means to transition to college. Nancy and Zuli, could you start raising your hands? And all right, so our next session is also young alums, so that's in room G with Nancy and Zuli. Where are they? Nancy. All right, there we go. If you're interested in the Young Alum session. Okay, I'm first. So Jesse, Michelle, Olivia, and Jasmine, they are all raising their hands right there. So if you signed up for the I'm first session. All right, doing it for culture, Christian, Crystal, and Asha. And then the final group is for Uniquely UIC, Jennifer, Sophia, and Tyler. All right, and as they make their way out the door, then all of a sudden this space becomes our space as parents, as guardians, as others who have some attachment with the student. And part of what we hope happens here, again, trying to be thoughtful about the kinds of conversations that we were having. We're to be responsive to you, the parent, you, the guardian, and what it is that your concerns are. And usually when we're having these sorts of conversations, it revolves around 3 big general areas for us, right? And we thought, what better way to handle some of those issues or handle some of those concerns, or at least start the conversations than bringing some of our own subject matter experts, some of our own people, to start those conversations and perhaps lead you in the proper direction, or perhaps give you a bit of insight about what it is that we do here, and perhaps how you should think about things a little bit more generally as you go through this decision-making process over the next 3 or 4 months. So with that, I will start with asking them to introduce themselves, perhaps explain a little bit about the kind of work that they do here at UIC, and then I'll have a couple questions, and then we will turn over the program to you. And we'll have some people floating around with a microphone, and we will answer questions and take the conversation wherever it happens to take us for the next hour or so. Sound good? All right, so let's do that. So why don't we start all the way at the end?
Hi, everyone. I'm Josephine Volpe, Joey Volpe. I actually am a UIC alumna. I am a triple alumna from the College of Architecture, Design, and the Arts, the Honors College, and the College of Education. I currently hold a position called the Director of the Office for Advising Development. I've worked at UIC for 17 years, and I have an advising background. So I currently work with our advisors, with a number of folks across the campus, and essentially have one of the best jobs at UIC, because I get to work with the staff and the students. So the easiest way for me to tell you what I do is to tell you, how many of you are familiar with the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital? Okay. I'm the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital of Advising, basically, is what I do. And so what I spend my time working on is essentially working on how to maintain our students' success and ensure that the students are getting what they need, as well as our advisors. And so I have formerly was a staff member in the Honors College, the GPPA coordinator, and then I also ran an experimental advising center. So for me, and I run a scholarship association here. So I'm very excited to be with you today. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Deidre Rush. I'm a double alumni here as well, psychology undergrad and the master's in public administration. I'm in the Office of Student Financial Aid and Scholarships, one of the best offices on campus and important offices on campus. And I also work with units and departments. What I do in the office, I deal with auditors and money. So I'm responsible for making sure we get federal, state, and institutional dollars. We disperse about $5 million a year in federal, state, and institutional aid, and so that's a lot of cash. So I'm responsible for all the cash that's put out, making sure every penny balances to the penny. And so what our office does is that we help students, we give them a financial aid package that pretty much tells them what aid they're eligible for, and then we also have a director of scholarships that's housed in our office that also works with students to help assist them with scholarship searches.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Alan Womble, and I'm the Associate Director in our Center for Student Involvement. And my role is twofold. On one hand, I oversee all of our programming, and so we aim to create the most fun and engaging student life on campus by hosting various programs, everything from our major concerts. So this past fall, we had Nick Jonas and Dram, we host comedians and a comedy show, a big one in the spring, which last spring we had Leslie Jones from SNL. And so we have all kinds of events all throughout the year to engage students, to give them a place to have fun and meet each other and build connections. And then the other hat that I wear is I work with our program called UIC Impact. And I'm sure you'll be hearing about it more as you kind of look to come here. But essentially, UIC Impact boasts the goal of making sure that having every student graduate having had a high impact engagement experience while they're on campus. And why that's important is research shows us that when students engage in these high impact experiences on campus, they're more likely to be successful in their next steps after undergraduate experience. And so I know you're coming, you're sending your students here, you're paying money. A lot of times their next step is getting a job, and so they're more likely to get that job that they want when they've had these high impact engagement experiences or get into grad school or whatever they choose. And so we partner with staff members here, and we also host our own initiatives and programs to help students be molded and be ready for the next life after they leave our halls. So right when they're coming in, we're talking about what they need to do to leave. So we're trying to help you.
Okay, so ultimately we're trying to get to this whole idea of affordability and value, correct? And interestingly enough, Alan transitioned pretty easily for us there. And according to the college scorecard, and how many of you have actually heard of the college scorecard? Right? So the college scorecard was something that was undertaken by the federal government to provide some basic information to allow you to be able to compare institutions in the United States across some pretty even data, right? So it makes sure that the data that's being provided is all sort of normalized so that the information that you're looking at there is actually comparable. So we're not comparing apples and oranges, we're comparing apples and apples. So according to the college scorecard, 68% of UIC students are actively paying down their debt 3 years into any loans that they may in fact take, versus only 46%, which is the national average. In other words, we're performing 12 points higher or better here, our students are. This is an indicator of financial health for our graduates, and it's also because they're not requesting any sort of financial hardship forbearance, or they're requesting they're not requesting smaller loan payments. In other words, they're getting jobs and actually able to pay the loans that they actually have, right? In fact, UIC's graduates average only $18,750 of debt, which is only 50% of the national average. Okay, in other words, our students are typically taking out smaller amounts of loans. So my question to the panel is, what strategies or resources are employed by students and the Office of Student Financial Aid to offset loans and debt accumulation? And more specifically, what resources does the Office of Student Financial Aid provide to assist students or parents in understanding and paying their annual costs and fees? And what do you think makes UIC cost of attendance feasible in comparison to other colleges or universities?
Well, first and foremost, finances can be one of the more stressful things to discuss. And so the key is having a plan. And so families are encouraged to create a budget, because now that the student is going to be in college, everything is going to be going to the student. Even if you're the parent paying the bill, the student is the one that's going to get that information. And so what we want parents and students to do is just create basic things that can help with success, not only at UIC, but when they get ready to be in the real world with their job. So create a budget, a spending plan, and then just make sure that you track this information. And so whatever you are putting out, make sure you have enough to put in, right? Just like if you want to go to a grocery store and you get to the cashier, if you don't have enough money, you're not going to be able to leave with all those groceries. And so we want that same concept to be applied when you're looking at trying to afford college and to pay the bill that your students will have. And so the resources that we have is that each student that completes an application, or FAFSA, a free application for federal student aid, they will be given what's called a financial aid award letter. So on that award letter, it breaks down the anticipated tuition, fees, their budget, books, supplies, housing. That award letter also indicates what financial aid the student is going to receive. And so by completing the FAFSA, it's the all-in-one application for federal, state, and institutional financial aid. So even if you feel like you don't make enough income, you make too much income, it's just always important just to see what you have available. You can always turn it down if you don't want it. In addition to that, we have financial aid counselors. Each student is assigned a financial aid counselor based on their college and last names. It's very important for the family to get to know their counselor, because this person will be working with you and your student throughout your academic career here at UIC. One thing that I do want to keep in mind is that we do, in order to protect students' information, we are limited to the amount of information we can give over the phone or email. We do need the student's consent before we can give that information. And so it's very important that you complete that call. The short term is called FERPA. It's to protect the student's privacy, because unfortunately we don't know who's calling over the phone. And there have been domestic violence cases where we want to make sure we're not giving out information that could put the student in harm. So oftentimes we want to help the family, but without that student's written consent, we cannot provide information over the phone. Just like when you were to call a credit card company or your bank, they ask you a series of questions just to make sure you're who you say you are on the other end. So it's really to protect the student's information. We also would want you to make sure you conduct scholarship searches. We want you to have the most money at your disposal. That's the goal of making sure you have a successful college career. The Office of Student Accounts Receivable, they're responsible for billing. They're called the billing office. So financial aid awards the money, accounts receivable collects the money. And if you have a refund, accounts receivable is also the office that provides refunds. So we have here at UIC what's called early billing. What that does is that it gives the student, the family, the bill ahead of time before the term starts to give you a detailed listing of what charges your student should anticipate. So if any additional charges come in, like if the student adjusts his hours, you will have an adjustment to that. And then what we do is give you projected aid. So this is the time now to see how much is it going to cost versus how much aid do I have, because that would be the amount of my shortfall of what I owe. In addition to that, accounts receivable has a payment plan. And so we want to make sure we have all options available for the student and family. And what the payment plan does is that it takes into account your charges and your aid, and then if there is a shortfall that the parent or family is responsible for, they try to break that into a 12-month installment period to make it more feasible for the family to pay for that. And so in addition to that, what we would want to do to make the best decision possible, what you need to know or keep in mind to ask yourself, what are my charges? How much am I going to owe? What am I getting? How much money am I going to have? And then what's my responsibility? We really want to stress that this is something that even if you're scared of, because it can be just very intimidating because you're not used to this, that you let us know ahead of time. Ahead of time is that the first second you get that award letter, if you maybe don't see your scholarship from Coca-Cola on there, let us know. Because usually the student is the first line of defense to tell us that there's outside resources. If your college is getting you a scholarship, make sure you contact them, because you want to ask your scholarship agency a few things. Make sure they know financial aid's address. Scholarship checks, to make it easier and faster, should be made out to the University of Illinois, Chicago. In the memo section of the scholarship should be the student's name and university identification number. What's going to happen is your student is a person and we value them, but to identify your student, we need a university identification number, or UIN. That's going to be able to identify if we have 85,000 John Smith, which John Smith is the one that lives on Halsted Street by this UIN number. So that's why we ask for that information. And so what we do is compile the scholarship in addition to the aid you already have on your award letter, and we factor that into your financial aid. So it's very important to send the checks to student financial aid. If the checks are not made out to the University of Illinois Chicago, if they made out to the student and UIC, we would have to go find you, have your student endorse it, to have us endorse it, which can take a little bit longer. In addition, checks have expiration dates, which is very important. A student may get a check in May and say, you know, I'm not going to be on campus till August, let me hold it. And so we don't want a check to expire, because the bank will not take that check if it's expired. So as soon as you get your information about the scholarship, let us know. The first award letter is going to be paper. And so that's going to be nice and printed out so you can compare and contrast UIC to other schools. And then any subsequent award letters are going to be sent electronically. So we do send information electronically. So what I will stress to everyone that's sitting here is that you're going to get a lot of information from UIC via email, a lot. And what the biggest thing we hear is that people say, we got so many emails we didn't read. Well, whatever you get from UIC is important. More importantly, financial aid and accounts receivable. Because if your bill is not paid, you won't be able to continue. So if you feel like you're inundated with a lot of emails, just make a financial aid folder and have that email mapped to that folder, so that way it won't get lost in all of your emails. But we want to make it, just stress, very important that we're here to help. And we don't know you have a problem until you let us know, and we don't want to get to the problem phase. So whatever we can do to help assist you to make this a successful experience for the family is what our overall goal is to achieve.
All right, so let me pull out one or two key things there. First is this whole idea of FERPA. And how many of you have heard of FERPA already? Okay, in other words, we realize that they're your student, your child, your grandchild, your sister, your brother, whatever it happens to be, they're your baby. We understand that. We understand that you are probably paying the bill. We understand that. Federal legislation says, however, once they enroll on our campus, they are an adult. And we have to protect their information, which means that you need to get your student to actually agree to share information with you. Right? So when it comes to grades, when it comes to some of the financial aid information, we're going to require that FERPA authorization. Right? So understand that this is now becoming, if it's not already, this is now becoming a greater partnership with your student, because you require their consent for some things. B, what you also should have heard is you should have heard Deidre essentially saying, hey, listen, financial aid, we're one of those places, and we're also one of those people. We want to make sure that you're doing the right things, that you are doing the things that you need to do in order to afford this, that you are looking in the right places in order to find some extra resources. And C, that we can point out some areas where perhaps you weren't necessarily thinking about the right thing to do in order to make this more affordable. Why did you choose a semester-long payment plan versus a year-long payment plan? We're sending financial aid award letters via paper, and we're also sending you the bill instead of the 2 weeks after you've enrolled on campus. We're sending it at the beginning of August so that you get it early and you know what to expect as your student arrives on a college campus. So again, it's about knowing what's there, having the information in advance, and getting your student to actually understand that they need to share and consent so that we can share and share information with you to help you along through this whole process. Sound good? All right, so this, again, back to this whole idea of affordability and value, right? Another part of that is, in fact, what a student does when they get on campus. And if we haven't stressed it enough, and you see it in emails, you see it in our brochures, you see it in the student body who was admitted, who is here, UIC is one of the top 10 most diverse campuses in the entire country. This is race, ethnicity. This is things that you can't see, such as religion. This is cultural backgrounds. This is religion. You're going to find a great deal of diversity here on campus. We've got over 30,000 students on campus now. And obviously, we're located here in this wonderful urban environment close to downtown Chicago. So my question to the panel then is, can you describe how this diversity, how this cultural nuance, how this impacts student engagement both in and outside of the classroom, perhaps both in and off campus as they're engaging with their four-year experience with us? Sure.
So I am not an alum of UIC, and one of the first things I noticed when I got here was the fact that it's so diverse, and you have students from all walks of life here at the university with us. And so we have worked in the Center for Student Involvement to make sure that we do programming that reflects that diversity. And so both our broad scale things, but also some niche programs for people to make sure that you see yourself and you find a way to meet other people like you. Because although we are diverse, you know, there's not one student who's going to be the only student that's like them, if that makes sense. And so we host all kinds of different cultural events. We have student organizations, which serves as a main touch point or cornerstone to cultural experiences on campus, and we have a ton of cultural student organizations that are here on campus with us. And then, like I said, we do a lot of different programming, whether it's Latinx Heritage Month or Black History Month or Asian American Awareness Month. We have all kinds of different touch points throughout the year to make sure that we celebrate culture and we celebrate diversity, but we also teach other people what those cultures and what that all means. And so we also have, we partner with the different cultural centers on campus who also serves as touch points for those students to help them, to engage them. And then we have some targeted academic support networks, whether it's LARES or the African American Academic Network, which also partners with students and work with students directly in some of these different ethnicities to address problems that might be specific to them. Or specific to that culture. And so we take it from a holistic experience, for the students. So who are you and what do you need? And then we try and make sure that we connect them to various touch points on campus to make sure that they're fed and that they're engaged.
Sure. Let me ask a question that you might be asking yourselves. Why is that important?
I'm sorry?
Why is that important?
So one of the things that I talked about high impact engagement experiences. One of the things that make an experience high impact is the fact that it helps students embrace diversity and engage with diversity. We know that a lot of times students have grown up in a certain environment that may not reflect what environment they'll go into. And so a lot of times college is the first time that they meet people who are different from them, that have different religions or different races or different sexual orientations. And so while they're here, we try to help them make sense of what that means. And how do they get to know themselves better, but also understand and have empathy for other people. And so it's important because we want to make sure that our students are best prepared to enter into a workforce in a real world that's just as diverse, if not more, than where they are here in college. And so we really want to focus on their time here in helping them engage in some of those conversations that they may not have ever had to have, just because they never had to talk to somebody or deal with somebody who was from that space, if that makes sense.
Sure, absolutely. The reality is this: is we as colleges and colleges and universities, we love to talk about diversity. We understand the value, but the thing is we do a poor job explaining why that's important. Right? We really do. And ultimately it comes back to this. It's back to that last point that Alan brought up. When students graduate, they're going to go out into the world, and this is increasingly a smaller world, a more interconnected world, which means that we need to learn to work through difference and figure out where we're similar and where we are in fact the same. And we think that campuses like this are uniquely positioned to be able to take advantage of those sorts of things. And it's not just that we believe that, right? Based on a recent First Destination surveys for our class of 2015, 77% of our students were either employed or in graduate school within 6 months of graduation, right? So my question then back to the panel is, how do you think the university supports students toward these successful outcomes? Right? How do students benefit from the kinds of things that we provide on a campus like this? And what kinds of questions should we be asking ourselves as we are trying to position our students for the best possible outcomes after graduation?
I can start with that one. So I'm going to start actually by jumping off from our previous question and highlighting a very unique program we have here. So you might not have heard of it before unless you've been at certain other universities. It's very unique, and it's called the Dialogue Initiative. So it's a good example of one of the very honed in and very unique opportunities that UIC provides, and then I'll tell you a little bit more in grand scope. So the Dialogue Initiative actually takes on a number of different formats, but one of the ones I'll highlight is the class that we have. It's Dialogue 120, and it's open to first-year students, and it's required in some of our colleges. So this is a way for students to begin to understand identity and to keep articulating that. We know that many students have started doing that and throughout their lives with you. But it allows them to begin to understand that we all have biases, and how do we navigate the world knowing those and engaging with folks that are not like us, and how do we do that at a very high level. So that's a very unique opportunity that I think is very important to note for you. But one of the most, I think that there's a very wide range of support and resources that we have on the campus, and I'll take them sort of in turn. So learning. In the learning areas, we have what you may expect from many universities and colleges. We have learning centers that assist students when they need help or want more engagement. And so we have them in the sciences, we have them in mathematics, we have them in languages, we have them in writing, and we have a wide range of those. We also have a general learning center, our academic center of excellence, that has academic coaches that assist students in a wide range of areas. And a lot of that is skill building in addition to what may be subject matter, right? So that's some of our pieces. We do have a number of tutoring areas, so that we think of tutoring not as I need help, it's I want to learn more. I want to be, one of the most important parts of being in college is learning how you learn. And it's very different than high school. So most of our students are learning to adjust their learning style to the way that a professor teaches at a research level university. And you have a lot of help with your TAs, RAs, and your professors, but at the same time, we have a lot of support that helps students continue to develop their own learning and learning how they learn, which helps them be successful. We also provide a range of opportunities. So one of the ones that I want to highlight is also research and out of the classroom opportunities. We have a research program, our undergraduate research programs. We also have a wide range of internship opportunities, both in the college your students may be part of, so the College of Business, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the College of Engineering, but we also have internships that cross-cut all of those through our Office of Career Services. The career development aspects of the university, which is something that is incredibly important to us, are very, very honed in at the moment. We have, and they always have been, but they're actually continuing to develop. We have career development advisors who work with our students in our Office of Career Services and basically work in partnership with advising. with your academic advisors and our support program advisors. We like to call our support programs, you may have heard that term before, so our African American Academic Network, our Latino Recruit, our Lara's office, our TRIO program. We often hear the word support programs. We actually like to call them success units. And the reason for that is because they provide great opportunities for students. Everything from individual work with a counselor, coach, or advisor, to a learning center where they can do some tutoring, to mentoring programs, all different types of things like that. We also have, I would say, a very unique level of community amongst our advising teams across the campus. We're a large campus, as you know, and so one of the things we're working on is actually, and we've been working on successively over many years, is actually communication with our advisors who work with our students. So our students can have more than one advisor here, and so it's helpful for them to be able to communicate. So a good example, we have, just this past week, I was working with an advisor from our College of Business and an advisor in our Career Services office. And the student was talking with both of them about similar things, and they both provided information and worked together to communicate. Because this student actually was looking to try and, they had sort of developed into this idea where they had had a great experience in a class they hadn't expected, and they wanted to take advantage of that because it was going to change their career structure. So there's a wide range of opportunity here and a wide range of support. I think one of the things I also want to take 1 minute to tell you is we also do quite a few things you do not see. And that's something to know. It makes the experience of the student and the resources we have available, it makes it easier for them to take advantage of those. A little bit like what I just mentioned about our two advisors working together. We actually do a series of things called success projects, and those projects are meant to be very specific to certain things. So we try to advance placement and make our placement even better for students getting into their right courses in languages and math. We also are working on a very important project to ensure that we continue to develop and improve communication across units. For example, our financial aid office staff may be able to enter a note on a student so that I'm working with the student in art history. But then I know that student may want to take advantage of study abroad, so I need to talk to that student about different kinds of things. We have a wide range of international programs, study abroad. We have a great opportunity for students to do that, and sometimes, here's the secret sauce. It sometimes costs you less to go on study abroad than even to come to campus today. And so what we want you to know is that there are study abroad in over 70 countries. And we are very, very honed into that. We are a global campus, and that globalness both extends to people coming to us, but us going out into the world. And we want our students to do that. So there are a wide range of opportunities also to engage with the communities, and that's very important. We have everything from civic leadership, our Center for Civic Leadership and Engagement, to very specific programs in the colleges and student groups. Our student groups actually create opportunities to engage with the community. And we have student activism. There's some great opportunities there too. So I will stop talking because that's quite a bit, but there's more.
Thanks. In general, what you've actually heard, again, we tried to put together this whole idea of, hey, we're an affordable institution. B, we believe that we provide experiences on this campus so that students can in fact be engaged with a diverse student body. And C, it's important because of the kinds of outcomes that we have on this campus. I'm currently under an embargo, so I can't say too much, but I will say this. You should probably watch if you're not normally reading the Tribune or some of the other local papers, you should probably pay attention early next week, and we expect that there's going to be a story there that will highlight UIC in a pretty favorable way in terms of our student outcomes. We're doing quite remarkable things here, in a pretty low-key sort of way historically. We've put together opportunities for students to actually do things. We have the places that actually help students do these things. We have the people in place who are actually doing these things. And we hope that your students are not only patient, harkening back to Harlan, but also choosing to engage. Understand that's one of those ways that you as a parent, you as a guardian, you as a peer or a mentor can actually help your students be successful and take advantage of everything that we do in fact have here. It's how do you get your students to actually pick up and go see Joey, or go see Deidre, or go see Alan, or go see someone in the Asian American Resource Center or the ARC or in the Cultural Center, wherever it happens to be, and ask the simple question, right? I happen to be an enrollment management person, and oftentimes I'm often asked, well, listen, how do you change enrollments or do X, Y, and Z on a campus? And I oftentimes chuckle, because really it's all predicated on a 17-year-old, right? What are they thinking? What are they doing? And guess what? None of us have quite figured out how you get a 17-year-old to actually go and do something, right? So that's another part that I would tell you there. How do you get your students? How can you encourage your students, now that you're hearing about some of the things, when they arrive on these campuses, when they arrive on our campus in specific, to go and engage, to leverage this experience and then leave this campus with a resume that will in fact land them in a job or in a place that they could not possibly imagine as they enter these next 4 years of their lives. With that, we have taken up about half of the time that we've got scheduled for this. I promised you that we would turn it around and turn it over to you, the audience, and we're going to turn it over to you. We've got a lot of different areas that we can cover here and some areas that we may not have covered here. We welcome the questions. We're happy to go off in any direction that you'd like and sort of make you feel or at least learn a little bit more about the kinds of things that we're doing here, perhaps the kinds of things that you should be thinking about as you're about to send off your 17-year-old to the next 4 years of their life once they finish high school. So with that, we've got some speakers. There's Rick there. Is there another one sitting around? There's Romeo in the back. And then there's Areli in the back as well. So if you have questions, raise your hand. We'll go ahead and hand you the mic, and then we'll sort of go from there. Oh.
Hi, quick question on the retention, right? The first year when the students get in, it's a two-part question, is what percentage of students are moving out, and not for academic reasons, but what percentage of students are continuing further on and completing all the 4 years, and what is one primary reason what you are seeing? Again, not academic reason, but anything other than that.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the question is the retention rates and how students move through from 1 year, how they progress from 1 year to the next, and what are some of the reasons that students do that outside of perhaps just the academic reason?
Sure. So we have, our retention rates are very high in terms of our first year retention. They're around, do you have the newest ones, Oscar?
It was 82.
82. Like
right.
they hover and they move slightly, but within the 80 to 85 range, and 82 is the last. I was just looking at them yesterday, and when you look at a number of pieces of data, you're like, wait, which one was? And so one of the ways that our students are retained across through the first year is through a number of the different pieces of engagement and communication that they do, both within the classroom and outside of the classroom. And that's a key piece. So what we want students to do from the very beginning is to work together with getting themselves situated, and we have something called Weeks of Welcome here, which provides an opportunity for students to learn about not just student groups, but potentially student employment, and engaging with not just with their fellow students, but also with people and staff and faculty across the campus. And so some of the reasons that our students are retained are also a number of different opportunities that we provide. So I mentioned Dialogue Initiative is one, and I think that our Weeks of Welcome really provide a highlight to open students up to where they find their place. And so one of the things I'd like to mention is that UAC is one of the best reflections of real life possible on a cloud for you, right? We are a reflection of the city of Chicago and of real life in the best of possible ways. Because here's one of the most important things that we offer students and why they are retained from year to year and why they are successful going forward. And that is because we ask them to engage with us, and we don't necessarily hand something to them. We work together with them to develop it. And that's actually a really interesting thing to think about. So for example, we will have an opportunity for our students to do Weeks of Welcome and see every student group, essentially, on the campus. But it's up to them to start to ask some of the questions, and we will provide mountains of information about what each student group is. We will provide mountains of information throughout the first year about what other opportunities we may have. So somebody can say, so a student in our I'll pick in our College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, they can engage with their advisor and or in some workshops about where they might want to major if they're not sure of a major. So what they do then is they can then take advantage of those things. But one of the most important things we do offer is because we have such a wide range, if your students engage, they actually find their place. And our biggest success is actually our students finding their places, which is what you hear when you survey them and when you have them talk. And you'll hear, your students are hearing in the Young Alumni session and the Real Talk sessions, right? So there's a lot of opportunity there. Some of the academic things that we do is we try and ensure that our students are placed appropriately in their courses, so we have opportunities to do that. We have a summer college program that helps students before they ever come to school to gain a sense of how to take best advantage of UIC. And so for students who place below college level in terms of their math, their writing, and their chemistry, they can actually engage and advance even before they come to school. So there's a wide range of things that contribute to success. But like, for example, I mentioned I was an Honors College alum. Our Honors College works together with the rest of the campus, but also provides some very specific leadership opportunities. There's a leadership program and there's a number of different programs that are run through not just the Honors College, but also our Student Development Services Office and our Center for Civic Engagement and Leadership. So there's quite a range. Does that help you? Yeah. Sure.
Okay, I do want to highlight one little thing as Joey sort of talked about programs in the whole bit. And a number of you were here for the Honors College presentation at the beginning part of the day. Part of what the Honors College does really well on this campus is that it goes ahead and it takes these high-impact practices, right? We're a research one institution. We're an institution that likes to study things and figure things out. If you think that we are not currently doing that with our own student body, you'd be fooling yourself. We are, in fact, studying our students and figuring out what it takes to be successful and have transformative experiences. And the Honors College, what they do is they try and take as many of those practices, put them in one location so students can, in fact, do these things. Because they opt into the Honors College, that means that they are now not choosing to get involved piecemeal. Now they are required to stay involved and do these things as they stay through the 4 years, right? What this means, however, if you're listening to that, what this means is that none of that is actually segmented or segregated away from students who are actually not enrolled in the Honors College. In other words, if I'm not in the Honors College, I can be involved in research. I can do the capstone project. I can get a faculty mentor. I can do all of these things, but I have to opt in. I have to individually choose these sorts of things out, right? So again, as we talk about things and we talk about the kinds of experiences that we have, understand that we're very much aware of what a student should be doing to be successful. And it's an issue in how we put things in front of students in order that they take advantage of it so they are, in fact, successful. There was a question. Yes, ma'am, right over here.
So thank you for that. I think that was very helpful, and you answered one of my questions. The second question, and thank you for this sort of format. I think it's really unique that it's for folks that already know they got accepted. So it gives an even comparison to other colleges that the student may have been accepted, as opposed to hopefully, and it adds a little anxiety. My question is on student involvement. Obviously, we want them to be there. We want them to be involved. With the unfortunate stuff going on in the news with sororities and fraternities, what is UIC's stance on sort of the accountability of these organizations and students participating in them? For the most part, I don't think I've heard really negative stuff coming from even the Chicago area, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. So what's the experience there? And I, for some reason, flipped to that part of your book about the fraternities. So just a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. Alan?
Thank you, that's a great question. We work, so first off, our Greek life, our fraternity and sorority community is actually a little bit smaller than what you see at some of these other places, some of these large schools. And so we have 700 students. And we have 3 full-time staff members in our office that actually work with their different faculty advisors, and they're also chapter advisors to make sure that we have a comprehensive touch on all these students. And so, we do hold these students accountable. We have a part of their selection process is hearing all of the different accountability standards that we have for them. And our director of fraternity and sorority life, who's actually been with us for about 3 months now, is very focused on how do we train and educate this community to say, hey, what are we really about? You know, there's one thing to have your parties and everything, and we want you to have a social aspect, but a lot of your groups, we call them fraternities and sororities, but they're value-based organizations. And so how is your organization living out its values? And you won't find in any of these values throw the biggest, craziest party or not take care of people. So first off, if we're about fraternal embrace and about community, how do we take care of each other? And so one part about taking care of each other is making sure that we are holding each other accountable and making sure that we are all, as a community, enforcing our standards. And so we've seen the same news that you see, and we see a whole lot more a lot of times because once you're in that community, you hear what happens. And we are happy to say that there hasn't been any sort of insane cases like that reported here at UIC, but we know that we have to be vigilant. And so, like I said, we require all of our students to partake in standard sessions that talk about everything from alcohol use and what's safe and what's legal, because of course if you're not 21 you shouldn't be drinking. But not just that, you know, sexual assault is another big topic of conversation both in the fraternity and sorority life community as well as campus community as a whole, and we have those intentional conversations with our students too. So what constitutes sexual assault, and how do we make sure that we prevent it, and how do we make sure we take care of each other in the community? And so, you know, there's no magic wand, no awesome like pointed answer, but I can tell you that we are vigilant in our office to make sure that all of our students are safe, and to make sure that our students who are in these fraternities and sororities, who a lot of times are more likely to have some of these incidents, understand what they are, those groups are actually about, and how we can all take care of each other.
Oscar, can I jump in? So the larger scope of the question, that's great. I love that because when I've been here a long time and I've seen that an amazing development, and I think that's amazing in the last 10 years. It's great. I want to speak to the larger question of safety and what we do in terms of some things that, because I think it speaks to this, and that's, we have a network called the U&I Care Network. So this encompasses colleges, support programs, people on the campus, and this U&I Care Network is essentially every member of the campus is responsible as part of this network, but we have designated folks that are advocates for students, and students can use, there's an online component that allows a student to say, I'm having trouble, and it answers questions for them if they don't know if they want to come forward with something, or they're just struggling. Like I don't feel like I'm part of the group, I'm not sure what to do. There's ways for faculty and staff to engage with our deans of students and other folks who are part of this network to get students help, homelessness, home insecurity, things like this, something that's very dire. This doesn't have to range to be something that extreme. If there's any issues or incidents, there's also an opportunity for students to learn advocacy. But something also I want to mention is that we have our Campus Advocacy Network does a weekly program, and essentially it's a roundtable and it's also training. And we do things like yes means yes, informed consent, which is that both parties, when an encounter may want to happen, an intimate encounter, both parties have to say yes, right? So we do those kinds of training. And that actually starts at the time of orientation in a way that is positive, right? Here's what we want you to be on our campus. Here's who we want you to be on our campus. So I think there's not only the support side of things, but there's also the opportunity for students to understand, and I think that not just for fraternities and sororities, but across the board. And our fraternities and sororities, our sorority members are leaders on this campus. And so they are that's what is discussed with them. So I think it's just something to know that we have a wide range of support, and this network not only encompasses opportunities for students to come forward, but folks who want to help them come forward. And I work on behalf of quite a few of the folks there, and I get a lot of requests through it.
The other part, and I'm not going to go too far into it, I want to spend a lot of time on it because we have a limited amount of time today, is actually the fact that we're an urban institution. Some of these issues mean different things when institutions are located in big urban environments versus rural environments versus moderately sized environments. So the location piece does in fact impact a lot of what happens on a campus in different sorts of ways. So I mean there's a component there as well that we could spend a lot of time talking about, but obviously we've got limited sorts of time today.
How has UIC weathered the shortfall in state funding and the attitude that it seems like with the new administration towards higher education? I'm also concerned about tuition increases.
Sure.
How are you going to deal with what might be coming in the future as far as funding for higher education?
Sure, absolutely. Great question. So when you look at what's happening in the state of Illinois, you look at the public university system in Illinois, what you're going to find is that we've got some inherent benefits here. We're part of the University of Illinois system. The three campuses, the system, the U of I system is the strongest fiscal university in the state. We're the most fiscally responsible. We've got the biggest financial the largest financial holdings. We've got the foundation to be able to weather some of the storm here. Over the last handful of years, what you've actually found here is that we've gone ahead and tried to hold the line on tuition. We haven't raised tuition in the last couple of years, throughout even the budget standoff of the last handful of years here in the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois happens to have some laws that are beneficial to all of us here, and one of it is the fact that there's a law in the state of Illinois that the tuition that we charge a student their first year is that tuition must remain constant for 4 years. In other words, your tuition is locked for 4 years in the state of Illinois as long as you maintain continuous enrollment at the institution. So it's one of those things. So we know that what you expect to see on a student financial aid package or on a bill in terms of tuition, that will remain constant over 4 years. One little caveat about that you need to be aware of, no matter where you go, and if you are going to an Illinois public institution, is that if you move from, let's say, engineering to business or business to engineering or liberal arts to engineering, those curriculums oftentimes have differential tuition, which means that the tuition will in fact change if you move from one to another, but it's what was being charged of students the year that your student actually enrolled on the campus. So in other words, we try to hold the line for 4 years. We're in pretty strong shape. We've been looking for ways to be more efficient, more effective. Part of it aligns really well with what we've already been doing here at UIC, and not just in the U of I system, in that you've already heard some of the conversations about how do we across units and across programs become a little bit more aware of what's going on, so we don't just need this one person here. You've got a community and a team of people who are aware of how to do things and how to counsel students and how to refer students at appropriate sort of junctures in their experiences on campus. So that helps us be able to do things more efficiently, with fewer people, and hopefully to the benefit of the student. We can have more conversations about finances as well afterwards if you'd like. We've got 5 minutes before we've got students poking back in.
Yeah, I got one question. Actually, as a parent, this format has been really great. You know, we're in the middle of sending our only daughter from Austin, Texas, so we're a little bit of ways from here. I had 2 questions actually. The payment plan you mentioned, is there interest associated with the 12-month? Is there interest associated with the 12-month payment plan? And as an out-of-state student, is there any kind of financial resources that you would suggest that we try to find? And is there a scholarship site that you would recommend for an out-of-state student?
Okay, so I'm a pinch hit. The billing is actually accounts receivable, so I'm going to fill in as much as I can, but they're the experts. So pretty much with the billing information, actually it's online where you can maybe go to the Office of Student Accounts Receivable. I don't know if there's going to be follow-up links for parents if they have questions about places to go to look at that information. But they pretty much look at what charges the student has, what aids the student has, and then they try to break it up. And so you're not charged unless you're late. And so that's how that works. And then to piggyback off the out-of-state portion, it is very important that you complete the FAFSA form. You are still eligible for federal aid because that goes anywhere. It's not state-specific. Unfortunately, you're not eligible for state of Illinois-specific financial aid. There's institutional aid, and then there's assistance for students who are out-of-state who get a portion of the in-state rate. And then the other question was the scholarship. We do have what's called the UIC SNAP. It's the scholarship portal. However, you do have to have an acceptance admissions to be given credentials. So it's not a visitor site. You actually have to submit your intent to enroll to say you are going to be a UIC student. You'll get credentials to be able to log into the site. It's very easy. It's an auto-match site, if you will. So the students put very biographical information about themselves, and the system auto-matches the students with things that may be available available to us that we may not have known. So someone that may be from an unknown county in downstate Texas, et cetera, all that is auto-matched, and so the student will be notified if they're eligible, and then different colleges also look at this portal site to select the students to determine if they're eligible. And then obviously civic, religious, schools, any type of organizations that's possible to look to glean on where you work, to see whether or not you can help. If you have a savings plan in your state that may be portable, it just depends on the different resources that you pull. So I hope that answers your question a little bit better to give you more understanding about it.
Yeah.
I can also jump in with one
Sure.
thing. So the scholarships, what Deidre's mentioned is our scholarship site. Also, previous to having and being able to log in, there's scholarships.uic.edu is the website. And there is a section on resources, and outside of external resources would be the link. And there are a series of search engines about every range of scholarship you could possibly imagine that are external to UIC as well. So that's just something that you could do now and something you might want to think about. And the opportunity, what you want your kids to do is to think about applying for scholarships like it's their job, right? So, and it's like a class. The more you apply for, the more you may get. So I think that's one of the things we did some research in my old office about 5 years ago that said that students thought that they were going to be funding their college by scholarships, and then the second question was, how many scholarships did you apply for? And they said 3. And so one of the things we want everyone to know is that is an opportunity you can take advantage of now. But once you come to UIC, there's a wide range of matching that can happen.
All right, so students should be trickling back in about 2 or 3 minutes, so we have time for one more question. There we go.
Thank you very much. Hello? It's on? Okay. I was wondering, when are we going to be notified about the result of the GPA program, an honor program that our students has applied?
Okay.
As well as, I have more questions if you don't mind. And then as well as the award letter and the breakdown of the tuition. And also I would like to know in which department we should go for this authorization you were talking about, FERPA. And is this something that we can do today? Thank you.
Okay, so why don't we start with yours and then I'll take the...
So the financial award letters for newly admitted students, provided that you have successfully completed the 18-19 free application for federal student aid or FAFSA, we're going to be sending those out about mid-February to early March. And so again, that's going to be paper, so that's something to be looking out in the mail. In terms of the billing, that early billing, that's something to be looking out for. The bill is going to be emailed to the students, so that's around August of next year. So you're going to get the award letter, the paper-based, in the mail to be able to review that. And then again, please make sure, this is where we need the parents to hover, that you check your student to make sure, did you get any notifications from the university? If so, which office? What deadlines do we need to submit stuff to? What do we need to submit? That's very important.
And would you address FERPA with...
The FERPA is on our website, the Student Financial Aid website. We have the links for the 18-19 forms, and that can be actually uploaded. You can upload documents. If you're not able to come to our office, you can fax documents or mail. So that's on the Student Financial Aid's website.
And when students arrive on campus for orientation and registration, which is a program that parents are absolutely invited to, there is a parent track. I assure you that we encourage you strongly to get it done at that time as well. So we do in fact want you to remain informed participants in this 4-year experience that these students are going to have when they get there. And I'm sorry, what was the third one?
GPPA.
Oh, GBPA. So the deadlines for GBPA medicine was December 1st, so it was a day ago, or couple days ago. And our other deadline for GBPA is January 15th. Now, for all other programs outside of medicine. GBPA programs, what we try to do is get responses out as quickly as possible. We typically try to get them done by April 1st. Understand that this is a step gate process. In other words, students go through each individual step before they can do that next step and go through that next gate. In other words, they apply and they were admitted. You were admitted, you're all here. The next step is actually going through and coming in for the interviews that are required. So depending on the GBPA program, there may be 1 interview or 2. So they need to go through each of those before they actually get to that final decision. right? GBPA programs other than medicine typically get out their decisions in February and March, if at all possible, right? But again, and let me also put the other part there, it's not early February, it would be late February, early March, if at all possible. And again, it depends on how many students they're interviewing and how many students need to go through the remainder of those steps, if that makes sense, right? So it's a bit of a dynamic sort of process. Okay, I see that students are trickling back in. I'd like to please thank our panelists. They will be here. They'll be here for a little while, so as we close the program and as we approach the expo at the end of the day here, if you have specific questions for one of the panelists, I'm sure that they'd be happy to answer. And with that, let's take a 2 or 3 minute break. Let's let people trickle in, and we'll start going with sort of the wrap up and what's there for the remainder of the day in a few minutes, right? All right, thank you. Okay, I was informed that everyone is back. Here's the thing, though. Some of your students actually trickled into the expo space that's in the back of those curtains over there. So everyone is technically in this space, but some of them are back there beyond that curtain. So, and we'll be releasing to the expo in just a few moments here. The admissions person in me could not, in good conscience, let the audience leave without making some reference to the admitted student checklist, which you should find on the back of the agenda that you were given today. These are really the next steps. These are the next things that a student has to do in order to enroll here at UIC. When you come back and visit in March, or when you come back and interact with the college that you were admitted to, or you find yourself doing an admitted student tour because you want to see more of campus, you're going to see this again. These are exactly the things that you need. You'll also find it on the undergraduate admissions website. Again, we want to make sure that the information that you need in order to transition smoothly to campus is actually out there for you. There were a couple things that I wanted to wrap up and put together as I send you on to the rest of the expo, the day, the tours and such. And one of it is this. We spent some time talking about outcomes. And I want to put UIC in one additional, put it in context with one additional factoid, which is this. There are 100, give or take, so Research 1 institutions in the entire country. These are institutions that do the highest level of research. They do the highest level, they produce the highest level of knowledge for the country and the world. And there are only 4 in the state of Illinois. There's the University of Illinois at Urbana. There's Northwestern, there's the University of Chicago, and then there's the University of Illinois at Chicago. There are only 4 of them here in Illinois. I raise that for one specific point, because as we start talking about outcomes and what you perhaps want to do with your life, and parents for the kinds of things that you aspire for your students, understand this. When you look at what happens to students once they graduate, students who graduate from Research 1 institutions tend to be more likely to be admitted and enroll and actually receive their JDs, their PhDs, their MDs, et cetera. They are more likely to actually do that. In the state of Illinois, if you look at the number of students that graduate from institutions and then go on to ultimately receive those terminal degrees, you're going to find this. You're going to find that the largest producer is the University of Illinois at Urbana. That is absolutely no surprise, because they have double the number of undergraduate students of anybody else, their closest second institution, which is us. You've got Northwestern, you've got Chicago, and you have us. And then you have a giant gap between everybody else. In other words, if you are aspiring for those advanced degrees, you need to be at an R1 institution. You need to be at one of those kinds of institutions. They will simply prepare you better to move on to advanced studies. Okay, that's a pitch for UIC. It's a pitch for R1 institutions on a whole. You need those sorts of experiences. So please, as you're thinking about outcomes, thinking about your future, think about those sorts of things. I really, really, really think it's one of those things that is undervalued and not explained nearly well enough. So there's that. The second part is this, is Harlan made some reference to it in his presentation that there were some questions that he received. He'll go ahead, he'll do a quick video, we'll get it into an email, and we'll make sure that everyone receives that sometime in a week or two. It typically takes us that long to get the video, make sure it's edited properly and those sorts of things. The second thing is that there were some questions about billing and scholarships and costs, and we'll make sure that we provide some links in that email as well to make sure that you have that information. Again, our biggest hope of this program is, again, to be authentic and genuine with you, to provide you with at least the start of some of the conversations that you need to be having over the next 2 to 3 to 4 months in order to make a good decision, or the best decision for your student and your families and for you over the next 4 years as a student. And we believe that we're a good fit for a lot of you. And we're a good fit for a lot of you for lots of different reasons. And we think that you should have those conversations, not just with us, but with others in order to determine that. With that in mind, we've got in the back, we've got beyond those curtains what we're calling the College Expo. We have a lot of optional activities if you take a peek for the next few hours. So back on the other side of those curtains, what you're going to find is you're going to find the colleges, you're going to find a handful of different programs. Some of the panelists who are here should be hanging out in the back there as well. So if you have some additional questions, start having some of those conversations. They're there. We're doing residence hall tours in James Stuckel Tower, which is right on the other side of this building. We will be meeting for those tours right outside the entrance to the UIC Forum. So you should have seen that there was a umbrella, a curtain, a tent being put up there. You should find them out there. We're also doing campus tours from that space. So if you're interested in a campus tour, we're doing it from that space. We're doing classroom tours, so we'll take you across the street to Beckham Hall and take a peek at what a classroom is really looking like in this day and age with technology and such. It's where everything is actually moving on this campus. And finally, again, a reminder for students who are admitted to the College of Business or students who are perhaps undeclared and are thinking about business. The College of Business is doing a drop-in event in this building in rooms D and E up until 2 o'clock. So you don't have to rush there immediately, but if you're interested in business and you want to have some of those one-on-one conversations, it's intended to be a networking sort of event. We encourage you to take advantage of that. With that, we thank you for spending a Saturday morning with us. We thank you for doing this early in the process. It's December. We realize that a lot of people are not necessarily thinking in this way until it gets a lot closer, until May 1. We want you to start having those conversations. We are here for you. We're here to have the conversations. We're here to help you place us within a context for yourself. We congratulate you on your admissions, and we know that you're going to be admitted to a number of other institutions. Congratulations in advance to those as well. And if there's anything that we can do to help you through this decision-making process, we are here to help. We are here to serve. Again, enjoy the rest of the day. Anybody with a button is here to help. And enjoy campus. It's 50 degrees. It's beautiful out there. Thank you. One other FYI, just it was a good point to be made. The parking that you took advantage of today, you can stay there all day. So if some of you are here and want to take advantage of downtown Chicago or River North or State Street or wherever it happens to be, feel free to hop on the blue line, take it in, and then come on back. You'll be able to get out of the parking lot easily at the end of the day.